Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this, today we are going to interview Darin Hale, running for State Assembly, District 1. We've had him on a couple other times, but never, not since he's been running for this position anyways. So how many hats are you wearing right now, buddy?
Oh, man. Let's see. I probably count them on two hands.
Are you going to give up any other responsibilities if you win this position?
Most all of them, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I would.
That's something I would want to know, because you don't want somebody running for something that they don't have the bandwidth.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's an incompatible office thing or not, but it's just the sheer geography, Sacramento to Anderson, and fulfilling both is just, it's not conducive. So yeah, I would have to give up my appointed committee seats and probably step down from city council if I win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. So let's hear a little bit about you. I know you pretty well, but I didn't know you as a kid and stuff like that. So for me to, I'm interested in, who people are, how they became who they are, and what they stand for. So can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing and your beliefs and, just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are?
Absolutely. A story I haven't really told yet, and this is a good opportunity to do it. So my father and mother, they divorced when I was a baby, and Mom moved up to Johnson Park and ended up working at Napa Auto Parts in MacArthur and met my stepdad. Within a year or so, they married, and me and my brothers, we moved in with him, and he had his own farm.
In MacArthur, California?
No,
here.
it was in Big Valley.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, where is that exactly?
That first farm was off of Pumpkin Center Road, which is just outside of Beaver.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah. I know where you're talking about.
Yeah.
MacArthur out by past Fall River and all that.
One mountain over, Big Valley Mountain, and then So grew up there till about the age of 9, and my mom, being from a pretty religious background, my mom put me in Christian school from preschool, and I was actually, I think I spent 1 year in public school in the 4th grade, but other than that, I spent my childhood in a Christian school until 8th grade, and then I went to Big Valley High School after that. I think it was during the Reagan administration, and I was, I think, around the age of 8 or 9, where my stepdad actually lost the property. The bank foreclosed, couldn't make payments. So we ended up moving a few miles away into the Lookout area, and there was a ranch there called it was a Wutsky Ranch, but it was actually a farm. So Wutskys, they owned several different ranches in the area. They had a ranch just south of Aden, then they had something way out in Nash Valley, and then our farm. And we did all the alfalfa and oats and barley on that farm. So that was about 1,000-acre farm that my dad managed, and that was my childhood is really farming and having daily chores and chickens and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So moving wheel lines was the big thing. Pivot irrigation was just kind of starting to come out a little bit, where more and more farms were headed that direction. But we had 17 wheel lines on that farm that had to be moved twice a day.
So is the pivot more of like individual ones versus the wheel line being a whole?
Yes. So the wheel line is one long irrigation system that in the center you have a motor and you have to go start it up, and then you walk it, approximately like 50 yards or so, or probably a little less than that. The pivot is automatic. So there's a motor at the base, and then it just slowly moves the whole thing into a circle.
Oh, right? Yeah. I know what you're talking
about. That's your pivot irrigation.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So and that saves a lot of manpower, the automatic part, but they're also especially back then, I think probably even more so now, they were really expensive, and a lot of farms couldn't afford those. So wheel lines were the way to go.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's hard to make a profit as a farmer.
Yeah,
And
it's
working, long days, early mornings.
My stepdad, and God rest his soul, the man raised me. He worked 18 hours a day all year long. Up before we were all up and back at dark. And yeah, I remember him coming home on days where like summer days or something. He would come in like around 11 or 12, and he would just collapse on the living room floor with a pillow. We had the same pillow he always liked to use, and just threw it on the floor, and he would just take a hard nap for about an hour. And it's a fond memory.
There's an old school saying that if you have a hard time sleeping, you didn't work hard enough that day.
No doubt.
And, I thought about that because I was like, man, I had a hard time sleeping last night. And an old timer told me that. I was like, okay, you're probably right.
And he did not. When he hit that floor, he was out. And, and he wouldn't get on the couch or anything because he's dirty. He's been working all morning. So he'd just crash out on the floor. And it was a good memory. Good memory. So, went through Christian school, and then in high school kind of did, the normal stuff. Did football, wrestling, track.
That's a pretty small school. Yeah.
Yeah. There was roughly about 100 kids in the whole school.
Oh, wow.
And we had 33, 35 in our graduating class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely small. You played on football, we played both sides.
You could pretty much know everybody's name in the whole school.
Literally did.
Yeah.
Literally did, yeah. But it was a really good childhood, Got to hunt all the time, fish all the time. I actually, I miss it.
Yeah.
After I graduated high school, I wanted nothing to do with farming. Like, that's not a life for me. I watched my dad do 18 hours a day, and like, that's ridiculous. I just want to go do.
Then you get in the rat race, and you're like,
you do. And
the
now,
phone calls and the emails and the spreadsheets and the
totally. And it's funny because I look back now and I'm like, man, that looks like a really attractive life. I would very much love to own, a couple 100 acres and just do farming and live off the land. That's very attractive now.
That's my whole goal since I was about 16 was to be able to work my way up to where, and you think you'd just be able to live a simple life and it would be easy, but besides the work part, but the money part of it is like the amount of money it takes. If you're paying a big bank note, I mean, look, you can have your property taken from you, but even if you have the whole place, you'd really have to have the place completely paid off, and just to pay your property taxes and the upkeep, you know what I mean? Is like, that's enough to be a lot of hard work just to be able to make it. So it's not so easy, but my family is kind of fighting me a little bit on it because they're like, we don't want to be milking cows at 4:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? So, because they understand. I've told them, I'm like, hey, if we go that route, it's going to be. So I think I'm gonna have to wait until the kids are grown up, and then, we'll see where it goes from there.
It's a real good metric, for how well you live your life. It's like you have your own, 200-acre farm, and you have to live off the land, and you have to use that to make a living. It's like how well you do that is going to, you're either going to make or break, right? So it's a really good metric of your own life skills and your own ambitions, and so it's the reward I think is great. Even as hard as the work is, I think the reward is really pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think everybody has their own path to choose, and just really following. That's definitely, I want to grow I'm probably 50% there. You know what I mean? I probably grow half my own food or hunt and, do about half. But I would like to be as close to 100% as I could.
Yeah.
And I'm, anyways.
Being completely self-sufficient and off the grid, that's
worrying
very
about
attractive to me. I would love that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to run for District 1 State Assembly? Or
well,
State Assembly District 1, however's the
however
proper
you
way
want
to say it.
Yeah. It really wasn't in my sights or my radar. You know, I wanted to focus on Anderson, and I still very much focus on Anderson. I know I'm out campaigning a lot, and I'm missing a lot of things, which it bugs the heck out of me because I do still feel very much a responsibility to the people for Anderson. So, but it was a chain of events for me, and it started back in, I think it was August, with Assembly Bill, what was it, 495, and that was it was kind of funny because no one really saw 495 AB 495 coming, and I had to learn it on Twitter, for crying out loud. I didn't.
Well, I think that we get overloaded with so many
do.
things, and just it's hard. It's really hard to keep up.
Yeah. I stumbled across like a video or something. I'm like, well, what is this bill? So I started looking into it, researching it. I'm like, oh, this is not good. And then it was already like halfway through, legislation. So, like,
Can you summarize AB 495?
Yeah, so it's an affidavit that basically allows just about anyone to sign your kid out of school or sign your kid up for school. So which we a lot of us up here, we coined that particular bill the child trafficking bill because there was no guardrails, no barriers. I mean, on the form itself, it says no ID is required, no court order from a judge is required. And we're just like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? I come to find out later, not too much later, but that form already actually exists in every school district in California. It's under family code in Sacramento, and I think it's like 6550 or something like that.
So it's discrimination if you want someone to prove that they're a child's parents.
I'm sure that can be used. Yes, 100%. So, and what they were trying to do is they were trying to amend it because of the deportations that were happening. The claim was moms and dads were being deported and their kids were being left behind. And so someone needs to care for them, and they wanted a quick, easy pathway through the affidavit for someone to come in and basically be the caregiver for an undocumented kid who was left behind.
Oh, I see.
Which to this day, I still have not heard of a single story where that has actually occurred.
Well, how many children go missing, just out of curiosity?
There's a lot of kids that go missing,
yeah.
but for several different reasons. Whether it's, I think it's probably a little less from school grounds, but, those things happen daily.
Well, it's coming out there. I mean, there's a lot of information. The fact that a lot of kids go missing right here in California, there's no doubt about that. It's kind of hard to nail down the exact statistics of how and why, and a lot of things are runaway. It could be some runaway 100%. Stuff. There's, it's all kind of packaged into one thing, but it's becoming more clear that there is definitely a network of child trafficking going on, and they're using school yearbooks and some of these other methods of cherry picking these kids.
It's true. When you initiate AI into that whole mix, and it's bad. It's really bad. So that form, it already exists. They're trying to amend it. At the time when I first researched what this was, I'm like, holy crap, this is not good. It was, a few weeks later, I learned we already had it. They're just trying to expand on it. Well, I don't even like that we had it. Like, when did that bill get snuck in, right? And reading the language, it doesn't look like school districts are mandated to have that affidavit.
They just choose to.
It just, so you have, it's the CSBA. all these different districts, they put out recommendations. Hey, adopt this policy, adopt this policy.
Yeah.
And every school just like, oh, CSBA said we should adopt this, so they do. We put a real good stop to that kind of stuff at Anderson Union High School District. It's like, no, we need to be reading these things, doing our research, and then as the elected body for the school district, we choose what we want in our policy. I mean, that is their main purpose. They control the policy and they control the budget, and they delegate to the superintendent. Like, those are their three main things. Same thing like at Anderson City Council. We are the writers, the arbiters of the municipal code. We delegate the will of the people onto the city manager, and we control the budget. Those are the three main things. Over time, and it's a little sidetrack, over time, a lot of those powers just got handed down to, to the administration or to staffing level, because the elect didn't feel comfortable or educated enough to make these decisions. So they just like, we just want staff to make these decisions for us, and you just tell us what to rubber stamp. And that is what I want to put a stop to. That's not good, because that totally usurps the will of the people. The idea of having elections and people going into office, the people vote who they want. And then that majority of that board is supposed to administer the will of the people onto staff to direct that entire body into the direction that the people want. That's how that's supposed to work. And if you're delegating all your powers off to staff, and you have really no powers except to just listen to staff and do what they want, then you're not operating in the will of the people. And we see that across the board. We've seen it here in Shasta County. We've seen it all over California and the nation. And so that needs to change dramatically. These elected bodies need to rein those powers back in. Those are the people's powers. They should have never been delegated off. You see it especially at the state level. Look at all of these departments that we have in California. I mean, was there like 400 or don't quote me on that. I'm probably exaggerating, but there's a lot of departments, right? That's all propped up and given authority to go after people for whatever it is, for rules and regulation stuff. Like, no, that needs to come back to the legislative level. That's the people's power, right? So these departments should not be being the enforcement arm unless that was the people's will. Now, because in California we have a supermajority, and the left side of the aisle, they want total socialist society. So they like delegating all that power to these departments to try to create some type of cohesion in California society. And we're all living it, and it's not working. Like, it's literally not working.
I think it's more unpopular than traditional statistics would show. You know, if you get out there on a ground level, I think that people are pretty fed up with the system. They're trusting government. They're trusting media. All these things are kind of falling apart. I mean, there's a lot of money being spent on propping up the facade that these all these people and policies are popular,
right?
You know, but and another problem is that we, you know, for me being born in '78 and getting involved in politics, you know, by maybe like I think probably around '97, you know, like you kind of it's almost like you're used to things being run like a dictatorship,
right?
You know, so you just think you don't understand what our responsibility is as people. But I think that is shifting. I think the weight's shifting back over to people wanting to take power. I think it reached a threshold, you know, an apex of what people can handle and tolerate, you know.
And that, to me, that's the blessing or the silver lining with the whole COVID thing in 2020. People woke up and in droves said, enough is enough. And they stood up. That's my story. Stood like, okay, it's time to fight because I sat on my hands for too long, and look where it got us because we were too complacent. And like, no more. I'm not going to be complacent anymore. What the left's ultimate, kind of goal is this whole nation of collectivism, and
there's a lot of bad players on the right too.
100%, and a lot of the right will also play that game with the left, and they will vote on the same things. It absolutely. So yes, you're right. I'm glad you said that because I'm not just blaming one party because both parties. What's the saying? That's
two sides of the same coin,
or the
two wings of the same
bird. Yeah. So they're both at fault. But this massive push for collectivism,
yes,
and 100%. That's fundamentally, I'm fundamentally against that. So our Constitution and everything that our forefathers did was about individualism, right? It's about the individual. I have the individual rights to do A, B, and C. Right, God-given rights to do these things, and over the course of time, through giving people's power over to staff, just a series of events, we've gone way far away from the Constitution. We've gone way far away from our individual liberty, and we're really like. What's the term I hear? It's like we're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
I push back on that just a little bit because we're supposed to be a constitutional republic, but we're operating like a democracy. So like we are currently operating as a democracy, but we're supposed to be operating as a constitutional republic.
We're way far away from what the visions of the people that put this
way off
country
the mark.
together. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So going back to this bill, when I was researching it, I wanted to know, well, who on the assembly, have voted for this, and where do they stand? And I found that Heather Hadwick did what they call an NVR. That's a no vote recorded, and that's basically you're abstaining from voting, right? And I was shocked. I was like,
yeah, because you would have thought it would have been a hard no.
It's an easy no.
Yeah,
it's undeniably an easy no to vote on. So when I saw that, I normally do, as I like to bring the information to the people, my constituents in Anderson. So I post the vote on Facebook, and the community was pretty outraged. Like, that's unacceptable. Like, you are our representative, and we expect you to be voting in line with the majority of your constituents up here that elected you. Heather Hadwick, came in the comments, responded, sometimes we got to take a potty break or go have a snack or something. And to me, that just kind of fell on deaf ears. I'm like, that's like, you get this agendized in advance, and when these bills are coming up. You may have had 100 bills to vote on, but when that specific bill is coming up. So I have a hard time believing that, and especially after what I've been told is staff has come out and said that no, she missed that vote on purpose because she's not wanting to alienate some of the other side that she's working with or the lobbyists that she's working with. But after the public pressure from that first non-vote, it came back to the assembly floor again, and she voted no this time. I firmly believe, had there not been the public pressure, she would have been an NVR on that vote too. I firmly believe that because in her own comments, she has told me she's actually used that affidavit in her own hometown to sign a kid up for school.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So she believes in the affidavit because she used it herself, right? So the problem with that is I understand that there's bad parents out there. There's neglectful parents out
Yeah.
there. There's druggy parents, and our heart is just to make sure that their kid is safe.
And there's no perfect system.
There's no perfect system, but there is a constitutional legal pathway, and that's through a judge, right? This affidavit, what it does is it usurps due process, because the parents of that child is not notified of what's going on, and it's just someone comes in, signs the affidavit, and can get that child any type of medical services, dental services, behavioral services, sign them up for school, sign them out of school. Where's the due process in that? We have a system where due process is applied, and that needs to come before a judge. If parents are neglectful or parents are abusive, that needs to come before a judge, and a judge needs to make a ruling that you were unfit as parents. We are going to appoint a caregiver for your kids so that your kid can continue to thrive, because in your atmosphere, your kid is in danger. Right? That's the due process. That's how that's supposed to work. And this affidavit, I'm actually really surprised that there hasn't been some type of nonprofit law firm that has sued over this, because it's literally usurping the due process part of it. So, so that's my stance on that bill. Then, as we moved forward, because we've done myself and several others have done the research on this community schools program. So when we were when I was on Anderson Union High School Board of Trustees, we discovered we were a part of this community schools grant program, which pushes full service welfare system on every school campus: medical, dental, behavioral, mental health, vision, hearing, like the whole 9 yards. And it's supposed to be conducted either on school campus or within a half a mile of your school campus. So when we discovered this and we started doing the research on what this grant was trying to implement in every school district, then we even went deeper. At least I went deeper as well. Is we found out there's a whole movement and ideology behind this. It's Marxist-Leninist ideology of pushing all this on our kids. They're the indoctrination that's happening in our school system, teaching these kids things that are not our core values.
Well, you look at who writes the books and who their parents were, and I mean, this comes from generational.
Yes, like centuries, like literally.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. It's historical facts when you look into it.
It absolutely is. I mean, all this material's out there. There's books on it. So when I discovered the kind of the ideology behind this and what the purpose and intent was, and I saw who was backing this community schools program. You got CTA, you've got the Communist Party USA, you've got the UN, the Learning Institute, you got all of these very extreme agencies and nonprofits pushing for this stuff. We're like, something's not right here. So we ended up pulling out of that grant, which was and we're the only school in all of California that was a part of that grant, and decided to pull out because the writing was on the wall. We read, there's legislation on it. We read the legislation on it. And it says once you deplete your funds for the community school grant, the school districts are on the hook to keep these services going. So what it doesn't say is once you sign up, you're on the hook, period. So we're like, you know what? We haven't depleted these funds. We've only spent $5,000 of it. Let's pull out instead of depleting these funds, because that's when this whole provision kicks in. So we pulled out of it. So we're not on the hook.
Kind of funny how they take our money, we the people's money, and then divvy it back out to us with strings attached.
100%.
You know, it's a corrupt system.
Yep.
But what can you do? You know, you go along with it and just say, well, we already paid into it, or do you? I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. It's unfortunate how corrupt
Right.
the system is.
Well,
But
and the messaging with the money and these grant monies, I hear it all the time, and I really I hate it when I hear it. It's like, well, it's our money, we just want it back, or it's oh, this is just money to help, you know. And it's like, yeah, but what are you signing up for? Like, what are you partnering with, right? Are you looking in this? They just want the money. It's like,
yeah,
no, I don't just want the money. I want to know what's attached to this. You know, who's pushing this? Why are they pushing it? You know, and that's where you have to dig in a little bit and just kind of pull the curtain back and see what's happening. No one does that. At least within the system, a lot of people don't do that. They just see money. It's like, oh, I want that. There's an easy pathway to get it, and they get it, and then they get millions, and they don't even really.
well,
think
it's a
about
good
what the
slogan to get
consequences are.
reelected too.
Yep.
Hey, we got this many millions or this much billions or whatever it
100%.
is to help the community.
Yep.
And most, you know, your average person isn't going to be able to see past that regardless of what strings are attached to it, because mainstream media is not going to talk about that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And unfortunately, alternative media, independent media is not out there enough because they don't have funding. So it's hard to get the word out there.
Well, you can always go. What was that news agency that had got billions of dollars of grant funding and was handing it out to all these alternative media sources?
Oh, right there in Humboldt County.
Yeah, in Arcata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't
forget the
remember
name
off the
of
top
it.
of my head. I did a program on that.
That's
but,
funny.
Yeah, my
So-
memories.
So the reason I bring up community schools is I ended up posting an article, an op-ed from the Washington Examiner, and it was Kelly Ski that wrote it. And she pulled back the curtain a little bit and showed how community schools was a pathway to Planned Parenthood, right? And what's happening, what's important to know is a couple of years ago, our state legislators wrote into law that a kid 12 and over does not have to have his information shared with the parents, right? So if a kid wants services and they're 12 and older,
And we could be talking about gender things,
All of it.
vaccination things,
all of it, 100%.
hormone type,
Yep. If you're 12 and over and the kid says, I don't want mom and dad,
estrogen mimicking,
Yep.
all that
I
stuff.
don't want mom and dad to know, and you're 12 and older, then the educators and the administrators don't have to and won't.
And we've
tell
seen
mom and
court
dad.
cases where, you know, this goes up to the courts and people like lose parental rights and stuff over this. It was just pretty wild.
It's a big deal. It's actually the number one issue across the nation right now is parental rights. It absolutely is the number one issue in the nation is parental rights. So I post that op-ed article, how it's creating a pipeline to Planned Parenthood, and Heather pops into my comments and starts defending community schools and try to have a cordial comment back and forth with her and trying to explain to her this isn't what you think it is. There's a whole agenda behind this. Several people who have also done this research that I'm friends with online, they popped into the comments too, and we're trying to discuss with her, hey, can we have a meeting with you and show you our research? She said, yeah, let's set it up. And then she said, I want to take you on a tour to one of these schools that has community schools grant and show you how good it is for the kids and that it's paying for food pantries, it's paying for clothing, it's doing all this stuff, which is all nice. It's great. We want our kids taken care of, but at what expense? So all of those comments happened, and then it was crickets. Didn't hear from Heather. None. I don't believe any of us. There was like 5 or 6 of us that were talking to her on this post, and I don't think any of us ever heard from Heather after that. So fast forward, we're 2 weeks away from filing deadline, and I make the conscious decision. I'm like, you know what, this is about the kids.
And there was nobody else running at that.
At that time, no one. Heather was going to go unopposed.
Is it just yourself and her in the
No,
race?
they're
or-
on the on the second to the last day of filing, another gal put her hat in the
Okay.
ring from Mount Shasta.
Okay.
Yeah. So I made that decision. I actually was, I've been registered American Independent for a couple decades. I think my parents were Republican. And then I think when I got my license or whatever, you know, because you can sign up your registration stuff. I think I was Republican for several years. And I don't know if it was like 9/11 or what. At some point, I got tired of the two-party system and became American Independent.
Yeah.
But I knew in this race that I needed to run on the Republican ticket, so I switched my parties. But I'm still the same hard conservative, fundamentally founded core principles as I was then, as I am now. The changing a title of whatever party you're on does not change the man. I'm still the same person. So I quickly changed my party preference and then filed. And I filed like the week of the deadline, and then this gal filed like a day before. And here we are, off and running. So it's and like I said, it wasn't in my radar, but for me it was like, this is about the kids. This journey is about the kids.
Yeah.
It really is. And we have a representative right now that, whether she's educated on the issue or not, she's hurting our kids, and that's not okay.
Yeah, and you brought up Marxism and Leninism, and definitely Karl Marx wrote, quite a bit about. I don't know if he didn't use the terminology brainwashing, but capturing children's minds.
That's right.
When they're very young.
The most pliable part of a child's mind is from the ages 4 to 7 or 3 to 7.
Yeah.
And there's actually discussion, books on how to reach that age group and start implanting in them ideals that will shape the rest of their lives.
And you can see that programming that happened in their childhood still affecting them, 30, 40, 50 years later. This has been going on for a long time.
Even you and I was raised in a Christian home, Christian family, right? Raised in a Christian school. During the ages of 3 and 4 in my childhood, those are the fundamental values that I took on, right? So, and I think they're good values.
Yeah.
And they're individual values, and that's in line with the Constitution. That's in line with the Word of God, right? It's this secular world that is wanting to change things and make government the arbiter of morality. That is not okay. Government should have no hand in what is moral or not moral, right? You have a justice system that can act on the laws written, but your daily morality, your code, that's something that's individual set, right? And if you have bad actors coming in and trying to manipulate our children's mind to go against our core values, that's not okay with me. And I'll fight it tooth and nail. Absolutely. And that's my platform. That's my goal, my mission is I would love nothing more than see CTA completely dissolve. See the Communist Party, USA completely dissolve, because these things are horrible for our country. These things are, well, look where we're at right now here in California. I mean, we're seriously socialized here in California.
Oh, big time.
And
look at the debt, look at the lack of freedom. Look at, how many bills and rights we lose every year.
Single day.
And, it's just, it's completely out of control. And I would have left a long time ago, other than the fact I believe that I was put here to be in the fight. And I feel like you're going to run out of places to run to, which I say, a lot. And this is my home. Yep. I'm not going to be beaten in, but at the same point, I'm not negligent or, what's the word? It's okay. But anyways, I'm naive is the word I'm not naive to where I don't understand where we're at,
Absolutely.
you know, what else can you do but try your hardest to combat this? But yeah, we're in a bad spot right now. Other than the fact we're in a better spot than we were, like you were talking about the blessing of, you know,
Of
COVID,
Mm-hmm.
woke a lot of people up. And I think
Yep.
before that, there was already things starting to change. So yeah, I think we have a chance to, I mean, there's never going to be a perfect world, I don't think it was meant to be, you know, the Garden of Eden pre
Right.
eating of the forbidden fruit. You know what I'm saying? I don't really think that's what we're never going to see a perfect world and a perfect system. There's always, but I think we can have a renaissance of good things to happen. I haven't given up on California, and I haven't given up on
either.
people.
Yes, that's even the more appropriate way of saying it. It's like, no, I haven't given up on people. Like, I don't hate the other side or hate people with different ideas. Like, I actually embrace individualism. Like, if you as an individual believe these things, I don't have to agree with them, but I don't have to disrespect you or hate you.
Yeah, and if you're a
Right.
freedom of speech absolutist, you have to embrace other
right.
people's ideas. You can't. Nobody has it all figured out.
Nobody does.
But-
and there's beauty in that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think we miss the mark when we think, you know, all of this division and all of this different ideas and nothing seems to work. You know,
I think life would
if
be
you
boring.
sit back and you actually look at it from the 40,000-foot view, it's kind of a beautiful thing, right? You know, getting, you know, because no one's the same is there's beauty in that. And so, yeah, it's definitely a good mission.
Yeah, life
Right.
would be boring if everybody just thought the same way, liked all the same exact things. You know, it would just be kind of NPC-ish.
Yes, well, and that's your whole collectivism mentality, right? So collectivism mentality is like, oh, we all collectively want all of these things. Like, no, I'm sorry, we don't, and we never will. Like that's why throughout the course of time, socialist and communism doesn't work. It falls apart every time.
So where can people reach you to help you, to see what you're doing, you know, contribute, volunteer, or donate, all those kinds of things?
Absolutely. So my website is votedarinhale.com, and my name's spelled DarinHale. On there, there's a donation button. You can donate if you want to donate. I'm very prominent on Facebook. So I have my personal Facebook page, which is Darin Hale. And then I have my campaign Facebook page, which is Hale-Assembly District 1 2026.
Say that one more time.
Yep. Hale-Assembly District 1 2026. It's a tongue twister. And then, you know, Saturday, May 2nd, I will have a fundraiser dinner at Country Strong Fitness. It starts at 6 o'clock. Dinner's at 7, so people can come. You can sign up online, you know, and purchase your tickets, or you can just get tickets at the door. We
And you
still
can buy a
have-
whole is there any tables still available?
There are.
Or, okay.
There are. We're going to accommodate 300, and so there's still I don't know, at least 50, if not more,
Okay.
seats available. So, yeah, people want to come and enjoy. We're going to have auction items and raffle items, and it's going to be a chili feed, homemade chili. My wife's making homemade chili, a couple different recipes, and cornbread, corn salad. It'll be a good time. Live music. It'll be good. So, yeah. And I need all the help I can get. You know, if somebody wants to volunteer and help spread the message, or put up signs, or or just share my stuff on Facebook. I'll whatever volunteers come forward, I accept open armed. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any closing comments or anything else on your mind you want to get out there?
No, I want to thank the people that I've encountered so far, and 11 different counties. It's amazing to meet new people and see new territory and hear other people's concerns, other people's stories. So I want to thank everyone that I met so far, and I look forward to meeting more. And because I really want to represent you guys like you've never been represented before, where no other force can usurp your representation. No lobbying money, no backroom deals or anything like that. It is strictly, you could count on that, I would be representing you, sitting my butt in that seat and voting on every single issue. So, yeah, I just thank you for the time and the opportunity to talk to your audience today, John. I appreciate that. And thank you, Leslie, for keeping us on track. But
Thanks for coming on, Darren.
all right,
Appreciate
man.
you.
All right, man. Have a good day.